Hey, welcome to Let's Talk About Us. Today, we're covering some local news. Local news today. Starbucks' new CEO will commute 1,000 miles instead of relocating to Seattle because everyone loves commuting, right? It's great. Why that's a setup for failure. The company already has a trust problem with employees. This won't help, which is true. Starbucks, if you've been paying attention to that at all, has been going through a huge unionization efforts to try and unionize Starbucks because it's such a big company, which good for them. Um, Excuse me. Expert opinion by Jason Atten, tech columnist. You can find him at Jason Atten. This was released the 21st, so yesterday. Nice. As a general rule, a CEO doesn't spend most of their time in the office. A big part of the job is getting face time with the businesses beyond the people working in the C-suite. In that sense, it almost doesn't matter where the CEO of a large company lives. Technology has made it possible to do much of the job from almost anywhere. For example, Salesforce founder and CEO Mark Benioff, I don't know, once said that he could run the entire company from his iPhone, which is true. I mean, there's apps out there, there's enough stuff out there that you could legitimately run an entire conglomerate from your phone. Of course, one of the most important jobs of a CEO is something you can't just do from anywhere: building relationships with the people on your team. Leadership, it turns out, is all about influence, and influence is all about relationships. Building healthy relationships requires two things: proximity and trust. I mean, excuse me. Um, like, I get what he's trying to say, but at the same time, if you're the CEO of like $1 billion company, there are probably so many layers between you and your employee, like actual working people, before it gets to you. Like in That's why it seems strange that the new CEO of Starbucks, Brian Niccol, won't be moving to Seattle, where the company is headquartered, but will instead super commute from his home in Newport Beach, California, over 1,000 miles away. As according to the offer letter the company's board sent to Niccol. It was still the CEO of Chipotle for 9 weeks. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait, Starbucks is like, yo, Chipotle, you're doing so good. Can we poach you? Oh my god. Alright. For Niccol, it's a pretty sweet deal. I can definitely understand why he would want to be able to continue living in his home. I hate moving as much as anyone, so I get it. Then again, I'm not a Fortune 500 CEO. True. Niccol must really hate moving, because when he took over Chipotle, the company was headquartered in Denver. Instead of relocating, the company moved its What? The company moved its headquarters to him. Yo, Niccol. What do you got that people want? Like, why do people want you this bad? Imagine moving your entire business's headquarters for like one person. All right, I have to imagine that seems like a bummer now that the CEO is moving on. I'm guessing Starbucks board thought their guy was worth it, and they think Niccol is their guy. His track record at Chipotle seems like what Starbucks board is looking for, so maybe the company was willing to do whatever it took to get him. I mean, I guess that's fair. I have noticed an uptick in the number of Chipotles being built around here. Um, I mean, just in like, what, the last 2 years for me, there were two Chipotles within driving distance of me that got built. So, yeah. Well, almost whatever it takes. Starbucks isn't likely to move. Its home in Seattle is so entrenched. Yeah, it's like part of it. No, there's no way throughout its story and brand that there's no way the company is moving its headquarters. It will, however, let Niccol open a small satellite office near his home, staffed by an assistant of his choosing. Aw, he gets a little assistant. Aw, here's your office. Here's your assistant. bending over backwards, even though you won't lift a finger. Look, I get them on the market for the types of people who can take on the CEO role at a company like Starbucks is small. I also understand that means companies sweeten the deal with various perks. Nichols' deal includes using the company jet, of course, stock incentives, and assistance with housing while he's in Seattle. None of that is surprising. What is surprising is that anyone thinks it's actually a good idea to have your brand new CEO commuting 1,000 miles each way. Well, I mean, if they're building a satellite office, maybe there's more information. Hang on. According to Starbucks, Nichols' arrangement will follow the company's hybrid work plan, which requires employees to be in the office 3 days a week. Wait, what? Are we applying this actually like seriously to the CEO? I think hybrid work is great. As someone who has mostly worked remotely for years, I don't think there's any question that many types of work can be done as well, if not better, in a home office. And practically speaking, if you're the CEO of Starbucks, you probably shouldn't be sitting in your office 5 days a week. Most of your job is going to be traveling to visit stores, partners, and suppliers, as well as generally representing the company in all kinds of public settings. But that's not the same as traveling just to get to the office. Yeah. One reason it's a problem is that, according to Starbucks, a website, the company's environmental goal is to give, more than we take. Meanwhile, on his private jet, 3 times, like he has to be there for 3 days? So at least twice he's flying a week. It seems challenging to embed sustainability in every function and business unit around the world, so it becomes the way we run our business. When you're using a corporate jet to ferry your CEO back and forth between Southern California and Seattle every week. Now, this is assuming that the same rule that applies to the regular office people applies to the CEO. We'll see. I've worked at enough companies to know that the CEO can get away with just about anything. The bottom line is that if you're Nickel, this isn't a great look. Yes, there are other CEOs who commute long distances, and yes, I understand why companies are willing to put up with it to attract their top candidates. But if you're that candidate and you don't recognize the message you're sending, that's a problem. It doesn't make you look committed to the task, which is a problem since it's hard to ask your team to do hard things when it seems like you're not all in. It's also not a great look for Starbucks, which already has a culture problem. True. Many Starbucks employees already don't trust the company. Many of them are trying to unionize the company's cafes. If you're the new CEO, every one of those employees will be watching you, and this doesn't send a great signal. It's bad for both proximity and trust. It turns out that if you're the CEO, where you live and work says a lot about what you value. And the people in your company are watching to find out whether it's them. I'm going to tell you right now, if the board of directors specifically is going after somebody, the people like who own the most stock in the company going after somebody, if you're a Starbucks employee, don't hold out hope. The CEO, like, unless Starbucks is like built different, it's still a company. It is still going to be anti-union. It is still going to go after employees. It's still going to try and hire scabs. There's a lot to unpack here. But I guess the small and short of it is, why are they bending over backwards for Nichols? And 2, why does this writer even think that someone like this would be pro-union when they're hired by, what did it say, the board of directors or something? Go back up here. Yeah, the offer letter the company's board sent to Nickel. Don't expect much, guys. Those of you working at Starbucks, if you see this video, don't expect much. But yeah, that's our local news. Love reporting on huge stuff like our companies that here in Washington. Normally I expect to report on like small town stories and whatnot, and local news like that, like I did the other day. But occasionally we get stories like for Starbucks and Boeing that reach out across the world. But yeah, a lot to think about. So much for Starbucks' commitment to a greener Earth, right? Anyway, this has been Let's Talk About Us. Have a good day.